Hello again and welcome. Last episode, I spoke with CEO and Chief Learning Officer Dr. Guido Minaya about the what, why, when, and how of evaluation and measurement. Moving on, this episode I will be continuing my conversation with Dr. Minaya by diving a bit deeper into those different levels of evaluation. Stay tuned to learn more. So we've actually done a little bit deeper of a dive than I originally intended to for some of the levels of evaluation, but I still wanted to go a little bit more in depth on these levels. Can you break down level 1 evaluation, which is reaction? What is it that we are looking for here as far as measuring reaction, and how can this process take place?
Really, when you're thinking about reaction, it's important to measure level 1 and the other levels as well. But how are you going to use that data, right? So in level 1, which is reaction, it's feedback, measuring in essence the learner satisfaction, sort of like a customer satisfaction survey. That's important. What's interesting is some learners are going to share their feedback on the course, not only on the evaluation form, but they're going to share that with their supervisors. Some supervisors are going to share that feedback that they learned from their employee with their leaders. And at the end of the day, the leaders are going to make decisions on future funding. So it's important to capture the data. It's important to sit down and really look at what it's telling you, because there may be something in there that you're going to want to correct or improve or enhance that would make the course even better. Learners talk to supervisors, supervisors talk to leaders, and leaders make decisions on budgets. So reaction is pretty important. What are you going to want to find out? Was the modality good? Is the e-learning good? Is the virtual instructor-led good? Is the classroom good? The facilities. Was it the right kind of a facility for the training that was being conducted? How about the schedules? I mean, if you're asking for a 6-day course and they have to go from Monday to Saturday, they might not appreciate being there on a Saturday. So your schedules. You want to find out about what are the learners' reactions to each of those segments and each of those components.
Now, as far as how this process can take place, I'm assuming this is usually through, like you've mentioned prior, this is just through surveys and general feedback outlines.
Yes, right. So the level 1, there's examples and templates of a level 1 form, and of course you can modify it, or your learning management system could deploy it shortly after the class and even require that be completed before they give you credit for the class.
How about level 2 evaluation, which is learning? What are the guidelines for that? Or I guess more so, how do you even measure learning, and how should an organization go about analyzing the data for that?
Sure. Well, first, you're going to want to test evaluate the knowledge of what was learned, or skills that were developed or improved, or maybe attitudes that were changed. The guidelines that you would look at is for level 2, pre and post evaluations, pre and post knowledge tests, right? So that would be one important metric to look at. In another case, you might want to test and measure knowledge and attitude. Do they feel more confident that they can do the job based on what they just learned, right? You're going to want to see if you could maybe test and measure for performance skills. So if they didn't know how to put together a computer with its printer and with other devices, you could actually have that be one of the final tests. You're going to want about 100% response rate from all of the participants. Then you'll ideally take action based on the results, right? In some of the initiatives that we're involved in, we're able to get some very clear data at the learner level, and the coach, the instructor, the manager can provide more remediation or more support to that employee based on what the feedback is from the evaluations.
Now, level 3 is about evaluating behavior. What are the guidelines for this portion? Does this also follow a pre and post process? And what tools are used to measure behavior?
You're going to use some of the same kinds of evaluation methods. The difference here is you're going to allow for time to elapse so that student, that participant, can integrate what they learned into their workday, their work processes. So you may have a pre-test that gives you some data. Then you're going to want to wait maybe 90 days or 6 months and see, did they really improve? Did they really internalize what they were trained to do better? And really, if we took a test, a day later, it would be very fresh. And of course, they may be able to conduct it. But 3 months, 6 months later, it would be a little different. And then you want to maybe survey managers. You might want to survey fellow employees. You might want to survey customers. And again, get another data point on, did that participant really learn what we would hope they would learn? You'd still want about 100% response rate on those that participated to do this kind of an evaluation. And you may even want to repeat it at maybe a year later, a year and a half later, to make sure that things are still going well. And as you can imagine, to do some of these additional evaluation steps, it costs the organization dollars to get that done. So you're going to want to ensure that the level 3 evaluations are being conducted in your higher stakes initiatives to make sure that the company is getting a good value for the investment that they're making.
So level 4 we discussed is the evaluation of results. Now again, what are the guidelines for this level of measurement? So how much evidence do you need to measure results?
So let's say you have different types of initiatives. One might be sales. Another one might be customer service. Another one might be patient experience, or you might be in a call center, right? So you're going to want to take a look at what were some data points before the course or the curriculum or the program, and get a sense. So let's say if it is in sales, you're going to want to see what was our sales performance for that sales team or that sales account executive before the course. And then 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later, you're going to want to get another data point on how well is that individual doing compared to a year ago. And you'll look at what kind of improvement was made. So really it depends on, if you're looking at customer service, you'll look at, did customer satisfaction scores for that individual improve from before they took the course to maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year after they've taken the course. So it really depends on what we're training for. And really, when you're talking about evidence, whether it's sales, customer service, patient experience, there are other improvements that are being made to the equation outside of training. And that's why we're saying that in this case, it's really evidence of results. It's not full proof that it was mostly or only attributed to training, but it is a good indication that you're providing value.
Well, again, thank you for taking a deeper dive on those levels of evaluation and measurement. In our next episode, we'll be hearing about return on investment. Until next time.